Hey folks, it's Tom at FrugalPrepper. I'm in an old town that's about 15 minutes north of me that I used to work at. I got my first computer job ever here. I started out as a bench tech and worked my way up to the service manager, and I really love working here. I'm driving by some old places that used to be customers that don't even exist anymore. They've torn down, changed names, it's changed so much over that amount of time. But it's still a really nice, quiet little town. I really like it. But it's been a while since I've been up here, especially in the town. I've been around it. But I had to come up here to get my canning jars from the Tractor Supply because I buy the Anchor Hocking canning jars. These are 12 pints. I bought 3 cases of them because I'm just running out. I need some more. And I always buy the Anchor Hocking these days instead of the Ball or the Kerr or the Golden Harvest. Those are all 3 the same brands. Like, they're the same jars. Ball, Kerr, Golden Harvest. Golden Harvest doesn't make any wide mouths, or they don't make any in the Golden Harvest brand. And I have all those types of canning jars. I even have really old canning jars. I mean, I just use canning jars like crazy. But when Ball, what used to be owned by Jarden Home Brands, and they got bought out by another company, I forget the name of it, or taken over or whatever. They've changed names and companies so many freaking times. But they came in and decided they were shutting down the Muncie factory, the one that's been open like since the early 1900s, right? Generations of families have worked at that factory and they make their living there. They came in and shut it down in Muncie in like 2017 and subcontracted everything through this company in Columbus, Ohio, which it's good they didn't put it through China. But I just have not been happy with their jars since then necessarily. They seem to fracture much easier. If you get too much temperature change on them, they're less durable. They are a little thinner. I get them with malformed lips and they won't seal. I get jars that are just malformed and have like a big indentation in them, and the quality control didn't catch it. So I don't really buy Ball jars because number one is they cost a lot of people and families their jobs and their living. Number two is their jars aren't as good as they used to be. And they've just been on a steady decline every time they get bought and sold. So I buy Anchor Hocking, and it's made right here in Lancaster, Ohio, where they've been made since 1905. Anchor Hocking makes all kinds of glassware like pans and dishes and all kinds of stuff, but they make canning jars. A lot of people don't realize they make canning jars. They're really good canning jars. They don't fracture. I've never fractured one. I've water bathed in them, pressure canned in them. I've accidentally put hot jars in cold water and they have not cracked. I really love them. They have smooth sides with all these decorations on it that interfere with your ability to stick a label on it. They're good. I like their lids too. The Anchor Hocking lids are excellent. But they are like $3.99, and I can buy them at Dollar Tree for $1.25 if I'm not reusing, if I'm not using Tattlers or something else. You know, I'll use Tattlers. I use old jars with number 10 glass domes. There's a guy on eBay that sells new gaskets for those. I use the old wire bill jars with the Viceroy gaskets. So I mean, I never met a canning jar I don't like. The zinc tops, I try not to can in those because it's really hard to tell if you got a seal, to test the seal. And I just rather be able to test my seal, but I have canned in them before. And yeah, I have some really old jars, and people see me canning in them in my videos. They're like, that jar's worth like $100. I can't believe you're pressure canning in it. It was made in 1905 by some company would start with an R. I'm like, I don't care. Will you give me $100 for it? I'll sell it to you. Like, no. Well, then I'm canning in it, you know. I like the old jars. I like the reusable rubber gaskets a lot. But I also can in regular jars just because there aren't enough old jars around to buy. But yeah, I mean, I've used the Dollar Tree canning jars, the Mainstays brands. I've used some Tractor Supply generic jars. I mean, I've used about everything. The Tractor Supply ones I had trouble getting to seal. The Mainstays, the jars are pretty good. I haven't really had any major problems with them. That's the Walmart brand. But the canning lids suck. They always buckle up and have problems. I haven't had that problem with the Dollar Tree lids. They have worked great. I have reused them. I do occasionally reuse a canning lid. Actually, I reuse them multiple times a lot of times if they look good. And they always stay sealed, and I rarely if ever have a problem with them. I've had Tattlers fail though. It's a rare occurrence, but it happens more than with anything else, is the Tattler lids. So I don't like pressure can meat with Tattlers anymore because that's expensive and I don't want to lose that food. But I will water bath some tomatoes. You know, it's no big deal if I lose a jar of tomatoes. And I'll use Tattlers. But anymore, I'm really liking these Dollar Tree lids. They're cheap. I mean, that makes them 12.5 cents a piece. And I can get multiple uses out of them. I'm fine with that. And, you know, I really like canning stuff and doing stuff. And I put back a lot of meat. I'm getting ready to do some bone-on chicken thighs. But I also do canned green beans, pickles, some tomatoes. Because I have a keto chili that I like to make that has tomatoes. Store-bought tomatoes will cause me inflammation. The tomatoes that are grown in a garden don't. I make sauerkraut. Now I sometimes I have a quick kraut recipe where I can sauerkraut. It's not fermented. And then I'm also going to try today to ferment some. So there's that. The fermentation. A lot of people say, well, plants don't have any bioavailable nutrients, and that's true. Most plants that you eat have very little bioavailable nutrients to you compared to meat. But fermented plants do have bioavailable nutrients. But I'm going to try fermenting sauerkraut and maybe fermenting some other veggies eventually and get those probiotics and those on board and see what happens there. I don't know. But I am mostly a carnivore, but I'm not 100% carnivore. I actually like vegetables. You know, like people are like, oh, vegetables are nasty. You shouldn't eat them. You should just eat meat. I actually love some green beans. I love some cabbage. I love some tomatoes once in a while. I really like those things. So I'm still eating them. But I'm being really careful to avoid processed foods, avoid seed oils, you know, the little peanut butter pretzel things that they bring into work all the time. I'm not sneaking one of those every now and then. I'm not sneaking a donut hole every now and then. You know, I'm just leaving that stuff alone. Anyway, I got to get back home. I will talk to you all later. This is Tom, your Frugal Prepper.